right? So I'm just going to start. I know you guys know what these are because we've been using them for weeks. But I'm just going to start with some definitions, okay? So additive inverse is the opposite, right? We have been doing this for weeks. Well, you guys have been doing this for weeks, where you add a number to its opposite so that they cancel out. So if I have a positive 4 and I want to get rid of it, then I use negative 4. And then we have a 0. That's what an additive inverse is called. Whereas multiplicative inverse is the opposite of multiplication, which is basically division. Okay, so we are going to get going now with some warm-ups. Okay, I'm going to call these warm-ups for us. Let us get going. So let's look at A. A says 3 times x minus 6 is equal to 18. Okay, where do we start to get rid of numbers here? Who do I get rid of first? Remember, I want x to be on its own. So for the first few, I'm going to explain where this additive and multiplicative inverse comes from. Okay, and then we'll do it the way we are used to doing it after that. So this is what I mean, okay? So everyone says we're going to start with negative 6. What are we going to do with the negative 6, guys? If I want to get rid of my negative 6, then I'm going to inverse, yes, which is what? What is the inverse, guys? Positive. There we go. So what we actually do is because I have a negative 6, I add 6 to the side to get rid of it. Do you see where the additive inverse comes in? But what I do on my left-hand side, I have to go do on the right-hand side. Think of scales, right? If you have a scale, those ones that you want to balance, okay, pretend my drawing is fabulous. And I have one block of each. If I put another block here, will this still be balanced? An equation means that the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. So if I change something on the left-hand side, will it still be balanced on my right-hand side, guys? No, which is why we have to go and do it also on the right-hand side. So this number doesn't just jump over and move to the other side, okay? That's actually the inverse, which we applied on both sides. The only reason we don't see it any longer on my left is because what happens? What will negative 6 plus 6 do? What will happen there? They will cancel out or disappear or become 0. Okay, so you guys need to understand this concept instead of just saying, oh, it jumps over the rainbow bridge and it changes. Okay, so then these will cancel out, leaving 3x on its own. And then on my right-hand side, I'll have 18 plus 6, which gives me, nice, Alice, 24. Next, I have a 3 that I need to get rid of. And I'm going to do so by doing what? Wonderful. I divide by 3. But once again, all the changes you make on the left-hand side, you have to go make on the right-hand side. So if I'm dividing the left with 3 by 3, not with, if I'm dividing my left by 3, then I have to go and divide the right by 3. Therefore, x will be equal to 8. And for all of you wondering what happened to these 3's, they canceled out. 3 goes into itself once. It's like saying 3 divided by 3, which is 1. All right. I'm only going to do this for the next few ones, and then we will get going and get moving, because I know you guys like to move. Plus 9 equals 27. Tell me, where do we go with this one? Where are we going with this one? Minus 9. So then I have 2m plus 9 minus 9 equals 27 minus 9. All right. And then I'll have plus 9 minus 9. What happens to my 9's? Positive 9 minus 9, it's gone. And then on my right-hand side, 27 minus 9 equals 18. Thank you. Now let's get rid of that 2 by dividing on both sides. Nice, Alice. Alice is ready to answer. These 2's will divide into one another. Therefore, M is equal to 9. Okay, if we are moving a bit fast, because we know our colleagues, guys, you just stop us and ask us to go a little bit slower, okay? Because I know you guys are just going to be answering, woo, we're gonna have fun. But if you feel like we're moving a bit fast, just raise your hand and ask for a re-explanation or ask us to slow down and we will do so. Because we are a team and we do not leave one another behind. Equals 12. What happens here? What is happening here? Nicely, Achille. You times by 3. Times by 3 on both sides. Because then this 3 and this 3 will cancel each other out. So I'm left with 4y is equal to 12 times 3, which gives me 36. I'm going to get rid of 4 that is in front of my y. I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Therefore, y is equal to a 9. Let's go to D. X divided by 2 plus 3 equals a half. All right, let's get going. Minus 3. So I have x over 2 is equal to a half minus 3. What is a half minus 3? And I want you guys to give me an improper fraction. Nice, Senyani. This is negative 5 over 2. I'm going to do the sum quickly here on the side. 1 over 2. 3 wholes is what over 2? 3 wholes is what over 2? Hello, Jason. Welcome, welcome. 3 wholes is what over 2? It is not 3 over 2. 1 whole is 2 over 2, right? But if I have 3 of them, nicely, Achille, this is 6 over 2. And then remember, when we are subtracting fractions, you only subtract or add the numerator. Okay, so then 1 minus 6, there's where we got negative 5 over 2. Wonderful. Now I still have a divided by 2 to get rid of. How do I get rid? What is the inverse operation for divided by 2? Times by 2. Because if you times by 2, then these 2's will cross cancel and become 1. And then here again, they cross cancel and become 1. Therefore, x is equal to negative 5. Wonderful, guys. And then let's finish off with e. Negative 2n minus 8 is equal to 0. Who do I get rid of first? The 8, and it becomes positive. Thank you, guys. Negative 2n is equal to 0 plus 8, which is just 8. All right, now who do I get rid of? My x is still not on its own. I divide by negative 2 on both sides. These will cancel, but on my right-hand side, I have a positive number and a negative number, which means my answer will be a negative, and 8 divided by 2 is a 4. All right. I knew you guys were dying to do this. You were moving extraordinarily fast, extraordinarily fast. You guys get what I'm saying? Can I have a thumbs up, thumbs down on the first 5 that we have done? And there are 27 of you. So I am expecting a lot of thumbs up, thumbs downs. Another example similar to D. Okay, I got it. Leachile, please. Release me, guys. Let's see, similar to D. All right, now I'm not sure if there is one here. No, there isn't. Okay, I'm going to make one similar to D and spice it up a little bit. 4x over 3 plus 2 is equal to 9. Random numbers, but we can solve it anyway. Okay, let's look. What do we have here? Nice. So guys, I don't know if you guys noticed, right? But when we are solving a problem, right? Any problem, we always follow BODMAS. Do you guys agree? But in order to solve for x, we are doing the inverses of everything, right? Which means we're going to do the inverse of BODMAS. Have you guys noticed that we usually first start with addition and subtraction, which is what you guys just said? You guys just said get rid of 2 first. So if you ever get stuck, you just go the inverse of BODMAS. You start from the back. So you're going to say, first, let me check, is there anything I can add and subtract to simplify what I am doing? Then after that, you move on to multiplication and division. And from then on, you'll deal with your brackets and exponents. I feel like I'm not sure how many people have noticed that it's true, but let's look here. Look, we're starting with plus 2 first, right? We're leaving this 4 over 3, 4x over 3, yeah. So anytime you're doing inverse, you are doing inverse BODMAS as well. And then equals 9 minus 2. See, that's addition and subtraction. We started from the last rules. Insist on saying summed up. Summed up. Okay, in Leachilo's words, we are doing summed up, or the inverse of BODMAS, okay? Now, let's see, we're gonna have 4 over x, 4, guys, I can't even write anymore, Leachilo caught me off guard. We have 4x over 3 equals, what is 9 minus 2? 9 minus 2 is 7, okay. So it is equal to 7. Then where do we go from there? What happens after we do that? Let's see. Now we deal with the multiplication. See? Now we deal with the multiplication. So I times by 3 over here, times by 3 over there. These 3's will cancel each other out. So I'll be left with 4x is equal to 21. All right. What's next? What's next? Divided by 4. Therefore, x is equal to, it's just 21 divided by 4, but let's make it a mixed fraction. How many times is 4 going to 21? 4 into 21, 5, and my remainder, nice, 1 over 4. Okay. Now I want to do one more sum like this so we can demonstrate summed up. Okay. So let's see. Let's make things more interesting. 2x squared divided by 3 plus, no, let's minus. We've been plusing too much. Minus 5 is equal to, now I have to work out something that works here. Yes, please always put it in mixed fraction. You can say nyani, but it's just, I'll show you what's going to happen now when we start with multiplication, okay? I'm going to show you just now. Equals 1. Okay, let's see. So let's see if we do Sengyani's method by starting off with multiplication. That feels like we're starting off randomly, right? Because we're starting in the middle of BODMAS. There's a lot going on, but let's start with multiplication. Saying, if we start with multiplication, as in, if we decide to deal with this first, how are we going to do that? How are we going to do that? We have to multiply everyone by that. Do you see? Do you guys see that? If I want to deal with that 3 first, then not only do I times by 3 here, but every single term has to be times by 3. So it is possible, but I like to go the inverse of BODMAS because let's see what happens. Okay, let's get rid of this -5. What happens when we get rid of this -5? It becomes a plus. So I have a 1 plus 5 over here. So then 2x squared divided by 3 equals 6. Okay, now let's get rid of my 3. How do I get rid of 3 in my denominator? We times by 3 on both sides. All right, gone. So I'm left with 2x squared is equal to 18. Okay, and then where do we go from here? We divide by 2 on both sides. So then x squared is equal to 9. And then we square roots, but there's one thing we are forgetting. What did I say when we introduce a square root? What happens when we introduce a square root in a question? If you were at the exam boot camp, you must know. What happens if you introduce a square root, guys? Okay, I'm going to say this. Therefore, what is x? I'm going to show you guys just now what I'm talking about. Therefore, what is x? 3. Is that my only solution possible for x? What is the other solution? Nice. I said if you introduce a square root in a question, you must say plus or minus because x is either 3 or -3. Why do we say that, guys? Because as soon as you square a -3, what is -3 squared? It is +9, but so is 3 squared. So do you see that my statement that x squared is equal to 9 actually has two solutions, which is a 3 or a -3? Do we see that? Yeah. So every time you introduce a square root, there was no square root in the question, we put the square root there. You have to say it's plus or minus. Please don't lose a mark for losing out on the solution. Okay, yes, Leachile, don't forget this. X squared equals 9 has two possible solutions, so we must cater for the two possible solutions every time. So let me see what we said about BODMAS or some dob. All right, we started with addition and subtraction. Then we went to division and multiplication. Then we went to exponents. See? So if you just work backwards, inverse operation, meaning inverse BODMAS, then you're fine. All right, guys, let's have a thumbs up, thumbs down on these two special request questions. All right. Wonderful, guys. We're so quiet today. Charlie, are you okay? I just saw you that you were here, but you are so quiet. Hello. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's get going. Okay. So what is my problem with these questions that we see currently on the screen? Why can't we just move stuff around? You are welcome. Exams are coming, guys. There we go, Alice. Brackets. These brackets are a problem. So how are we going to get rid of these brackets? Let me write the question so far. So long. My English is determined to embarrass me today. That is true, guys. We are going to distribute. Remember, foiling is if you have two brackets. So if I have x plus 2 next to a x minus 1, that's when we foil. But in this case, I only have one bracket. Okay. There we go. So we are distributing. Okay. Yeah, foiling is for two brackets next to each other. In this case, we're just multiplying whatever is outside into the bracket. Okay. I hope we're making sense here. So let's get going. Maureen didn't even wait. I love it. 5x minus 5 times negative 1. Saying 5. Thank you. Negative 5. Okay. Then 4 times x, we have 4x. And 4 times positive 1, we have a plus 4. Great. We've gotten rid of my brackets. So where do I go now? Brackets are gone. So what do we do now? Inverse of what and what? So do you see that we have to inverse twice in this case? We want numbers on one side and my variables on the other side. So we want this 4x to be on my left-hand side and my negative 5 to be on the right-hand side. So then I'm going to end up with 5x, and my symbol for 4x, if it goes over to the other side, will be nice, negative 4x equals 4, and my 5, if it goes to the other side, it'll be plus 5. And then what's 5x minus 4x? Therefore, we're already on my last step. Therefore, x is equal to 4 plus 5, which is equal to 9. Wonderful. Okay. Let's do 4. Once again, I have brackets that are in my way. Okay. So what happens with this bracket next to my negative? What do you guys think we're going to do there? What happens with the brackets next to my negative there? I know with here we're going to distribute. Remember, to FOIL, the brackets have to be next to each other. So if it was x plus 2 and 3 minus m, they are next to each other. There's no plus or minus there. Okay. But that minus immediately makes it a different term. So we cannot FOIL. Yes, guys, if there's no coefficient or number here, then the number is nicely achilo, it is a 1. So we are still distributing, but we are just distributing a negative 1. So then, first bracket, 3 times m is 3m plus 3 times 2, which will give me a 6, and then negative 1 times 3. A negative 1 times negative m is a plus m equals 5. Great. Now let's first add like terms on my left-hand side. Give me my like terms, please, so I can underline them. Like terms, 3m and m. My other set of like terms, 6 and negative 3. Okay. 3m plus m is going to give us 4m. And what is 6 minus 3? Plus 3 equals 5. Great. Now let's get rid of the numbers around my m. All right. What do we do first? Inverse of what? There we go. So 3. So therefore, we're going to end up with 4m is equal to 5 minus 3, which is 2. Wonderful. Now we still have a 4 in front of the m, which is a problem. So we divide by 4 on both sides. Therefore, m is equal to a half. Beautiful. We ignored a very important part of my question, which said, check your answers. How do we check our answers? How do we check our answers? We substituted back in. So let's start with number 1. My left-hand side and my right-hand side. What am I substituting in number 1? 9. Nice. So it'll be 5 times 9 minus 1. What is 9 minus 1? 8. So then 5 times 8, my answer for the left-hand side is, it is 40. Great. On my right-hand side, I have 9 plus 1, which will mean it's 4 times 10, and my answer is 40. Is my answer correct of x equals 9? Therefore, the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. Now, this checking is a little bit more interesting, okay? I'm going to need more space. That's fine. I'm just going to start it off here. And my left-hand side says 3 times m plus 2 minus 1 times 3 minus m. And my right-hand side is just the 5. Okay, so what are we substituting for number 4? A half. So then 3 and my m is a half plus 2 minus 3 minus a half. All right, let's get going. What is a half plus 2? Give me an improper fraction, please. A half plus 2. There we go. 5 over 2. Minus 3 minus a half. 3 minus a half. So 6 over 2 minus 1 over 2. And that's going to give us 5 over 2. Wonderful. Okay, let's times this. When we're timesing, we times the numerator with numerator and denominator with denominator. So then it will give me 15 over 2 minus 5 over 2. What is 15 over 2 minus 5 over 2? We are skipping steps. Calculators, that is 10 over 2. Then we say equals 5. So is my answer correct of a half? Yes, because the left-hand side is equal to the right-hand side. Nice, guys. Great. Now, let's solve these, right? But as you can see, I wrote in 7 and 8 to spice up our lives a little bit. Okay, because I know you guys can do it. So I just decided to. But let's leave 7 and 8 for now. Let's leave 7 and 8 for now. Let us start with something that is going to... Let's start with number 2. You guys are already complaining. I know you can do it. 2x squared minus 7 minus x times 2x plus 1 equals 0. So, Andy, trust me, 7 and 8 are going to be very interesting. Okay. 7 and 8 are going to be beautiful. You guys are going to love them. All right, now let's check. I have brackets there, so what am I going to do with the x outside the brackets? We distribute. So I'm going to distribute this x in. So I have 2x squared minus 7, and then negative x times 2x. Negative x times 2x, that is negative 2x squared. Negative x times 1 minus x, and this is equal to 0. What is happening now? Like terms. So negative 2x and negative 2x and negative 2x. So what's 2x squared minus 2x squared? Nice, Alice. They're gone. Okay, so what is left here? Negative 7 minus x equals 0. Problem. Who has to move here? Who are we moving? Negative 7 or x. Pamanda actually saw the vision and mission. If you move x, it's one step, but you guys want to move negative 7, so it's fine. So it's going to be negative 7x is equal to 0 plus 7, which is just 7. Okay. And what happens if I divide by negative 1? That's going to give me x is equal to negative 7. So according to Spamandla, we could have just moved the x because it said negative 7 is equal. It said negative 7 minus x equals 0. Had we moved the x, we will just be left with negative 7 equals x. And that means the same thing, okay? It doesn't matter which side the x is on. That means the same thing. Negative 7 is equal to x. Beautiful. Okay, before we get to 7 and 8, let us do 6. Let us do 6 quickly. Okay. So 6 is 4m minus 3m times m minus 2 plus 3m squared equals 10. Once again, brackets. What do we do when we have brackets? Distribute. Okay. So I have a 4m, negative 3m times m. It's a negative 3m squared. Don't forget your symbols. And then negative 3m times negative 2. That is positive 6m. Okay. Plus 3m squared equals 10. Let's check our like terms. What are my like terms on the left-hand side? Yes, allos. Okay, 4m and 6m as well as the m squareds. Nice. Okay, what is 4m plus 6m? 4m plus 6m, that is 10m. And what happened with my negative 3m squared plus 3m squared? They canceled, so they're gone. So this is equal to 10, and then they broke up. Divide by 10 on both sides, and therefore m is equal to 1. Wonderful. Okay, now I think we deserve to do number 7 and number 8. Okay, let's check. X squared minus 5x plus 6. X squared minus 5x plus 6 equals 0. Ideas. Where do you guys think we're going to start here? Where do we think we're going to start here? Anyone? Negative 6. Okay, I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it. X squared minus 5x equals negative 6. Has that solved our problem? Ah, Jason, you genius, you. We factorize, okay? So how are we going to factorize x squared minus 5x plus 6? How do we know when to factorize? Yeah, I know my question sounded like it was going somewhere else, but how do we know when to factorize? If it's a trinomial, if I have an x squared and it is not disappearing, that is a big sign that I should probably be factorizing, okay? So here are my 2 brackets. Let's get going. Let's get going. Step by step. Step by step. I see you guys in the chat. X and x, because they are factors of x squared. We said my first symbol has to be the same one in my trinomial, so it's a minus. And once again, does that minus mean keep or change for the next one? Does that minus mean keep or change? It means change. So my second bracket will have a negative. Remember, we're changing the second one, not the first one. We're changing this guy. So if I'm changing my positive, then my positive is becoming a negative. There we go, guys. And then factors of 6 that are going to give me -5. I have 6 and 1 and 3 and 2, but they both have to be negative. So it has to be 3 and 2 because it's going to be -3 minus 2, which is -5. Beautiful. All right, I've factorized. Now what? I have factorized. So where do we go from here? Amanda, if we foil, do you guys agree that we're going to go right back to there? Nice. Why do we do that, Singyani? Do you have any idea why we do that? Any idea? Nope. Okay, let's discuss it. What does an equation mean, guys? What does an equation mean? Nice, Alice. That is why we do it. An equation means my left-hand side is equal to my right-hand side. So, do you guys agree that that means my equation currently is saying this whole bracket times this whole bracket is equal to 0? Do we see that? So the whole bracket times the whole bracket is 0. That means one of these brackets has to be 0 because the only way we can get 0 is if one of these is a 0. Does that make sense? So either x minus 3 is 0 or x minus 2 equals 0. Do you see? So then from here, we split this one up. We say for this equation to be true, one of my brackets has to be 0. Yes, you split it up. So you say either x plus 3, you don't have to write either. So you say therefore x minus 3 is 0 or x minus 2 is 0. All right, and then you solve them as two separate equations. So for my left one, what is x going to be? X equals 3. So either x equals 3 or x is a 2. Why do I say or and not and? That's also another thing we lose marks for at school. Why do I say or instead of and? Besides that, guys, can x be 3 and 2 at the same time in the same equation? No. So either x is 3 or it is 2. You can't say and. Okay, because if x is 3, you're going to have 3 minus 3, which is a 0, which makes this true. At the same time, if x is 2, you're going to have 2 minus 2, which is 0, which makes this whole equation true. Do we get it? So anytime you are solving a trinomial, you split it up. Okay, you split it up because you need to make sense of what this means. So Senyani, I know you knew how to do this, but do you understand why now? Does it make more sense? So you just take an equation and you make sense of it. All right. Now, number 8 is going to spice up life even more here. X cubed plus 2x squared minus 24x. Alice is like, enough space. We are seasoned enough. Okay, let's see, guys. What do we think? This time we don't have a trinomial, right? There's a lot going on here. So what do you guys think? Do we have ideas for this one? I have to push you I have to push you. Ooh, Alice says divide by x. Why is that dangerous, Alice? That is a great idea, but there's one reason why it's dangerous. Because what is 0 divided by anything, guys? 0 divided by anything is 0. Do you see that 0 is an unreliable number to divide anything by? 0 is very dangerous because whatever you divide 0 by, your answer will always be 0. So that won't answer your question about what is x. It will just get rid of one solution. Okay, is Pamela saying we factorize? How do we factorize? This isn't a trinomial, so how do we factorize this? How can we factorize this? Not dividing, but taking out a common factor. So what's my common factor? Nice, guys. It is x. So if I take out x, what is left for my first term? X squared plus 2x minus 24 equals 0. All right, we're getting somewhere. Now what? Now what, guys? We factorize again. This time, how do we factorize? By using, if we distribute, we're going to be right back to where we just came from. Because we're putting this x right back in, which will take us to step 1. We use trinomials. We use trinomials. Remember, guys, if your equation says equals 0, it is always a terrible idea to divide by anything. Because 0 will get rid of the solution without giving you an answer. Because do you agree, if x is 2, then 0 divided by 2 is 0. But if x is 3, 0 divided by 3 is 0. Do you see, guys? Or if x is 5, 0 divided by 5 is 0. So does dividing by x help you answer your question? No. It just complicates life. So never divide by anything if you have a 0 on the side, okay? Rather take it out as a factor. Do not divide it. Okay, Alice says, I don't understand trinomials. Alice, do you want to do this one with me? You can raise your hand if you want, or you can do it in the chat with me. How is that? There we go. Hello, Alice.
Hello, ma'am.
Okay, let's get going with trinomials. So step 1, Alice, we want 2 factors that are going to give me x squared. What's the only way I can get x squared?
X times x.
X times x. Great, you're still with me. Now,
Yes, ma'am.
my first symbol in my trinomial is a positive. So what is my symbol for the first bracket going to be?
A positive.
A positive. Wonderful. Now, if I have a positive, Alice, does that mean I'm going to keep or change?
Keep.
Keep. But I am talking about the second symbol. I think that's what confuses a lot of people, okay? We are keeping the second symbol. So then what's my bracket? What's my symbol in this bracket?
A negative.
Here we go, a negative. Great. Now, we move on to factors of 24. Okay, so I can either say 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6, and that's all. But Alice, we want a pair. The reason I'm writing them next to each other is because whatever we use has to equal positive 2x. Are you with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Is 1 and 24 ever going to give me a 2?
No.
No, so these are eliminated. What about 2 and 12?
No.
Nope. What about 3 and 8?
No.
No. Great. We're left with 4 and 6. Is it possible for 4 and 6 to give me a 12?
Yes.
Excuse me, a 2? Yes. But now, Alice, we have two different symbols here. We have a positive and a negative. Now, do I want a positive 2 or a negative 2?
A positive 2.
Positive 2. So which one of these guys need to be positive?
6.
There we go. So then 6 will go in the bracket with the positive, and 4 will go in the bracket with the negative.
Oh, okay. I see now, ma'am.
There we go. Just practice a bit more. Okay, you'll get the hang of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Okay, Alice is with us, guys. Alice is with us. Now what? What would we have done if this was just a trinomial? Let's go back to what equations mean, okay? It means x times x plus 6 times x minus 4 equals 0. So that means either my x minus 4 is equal to 0, or my x plus 6 is equal to 0, or what? What is my third option here? What is my third option? Nicely, Achilwe. Or this x on its own is equal to 0. Nice, guys. So this time, how many solutions do we have? 3. So either x is 0, because if x is 0, it doesn't even matter what these brackets are, okay? It doesn't matter what these brackets are because 0 times anything will just give me a 0. Okay, so either x is 0 or x plus 6 is 0 or x minus 4 equals 0. Andile, which part don't you get? Is it the trinomial or is it the solving for x using a trinomial? Just let me know in the chat. So my first one, my solution is already done. Either x is 0 or for my second one, x is what? For my second one, what is x? X is equal to negative 6. Or x is equal to, remember, this is going over, right? Don't forget the symbol changes, guys. If x negative 4 goes over, that means x is 4. Whew, how beautiful was that sum, guys? How beautiful. Thumbs up, thumbs down on my two very creative sums. Not very creative, but you guys get what I mean. Now I'm about to show you guys a little bit of a trick here to know if you have the right amount of answers. I'm going to give you a bit of a trick here. Now, when x didn't have an exponent, no, not really. To substitute, Spamanda, that's to check if your answers are right, okay? But I want to check if I have the correct amount of answers. Do you see what I mean? Like, how do we know if I'm going to have 3 solutions or 2 solutions or 1 solution or no solution? Look here, guys. When our x didn't have an exponent, how many solutions did we have for x? For these questions? 1. And if there's no exponent, then my exponent is 1. Do you guys see where I'm going with this? Let's move on to the one with the squared. Number 7. Number 7 had an x squared, and I ended up with how many solutions for x? 2. And so number 8 has an x cubed, and how many solutions did I end up with? Do you guys see where I'm going with this? So if I have an x to the power of 4, how many solutions will x have? Beautiful. All right. And I'm going to reiterate, if we divided by x and it disappeared, how many solutions was I going to be left with here? If we had divided by x in the beginning, we were going to end up with 2 solutions for x. There goes your third mark. Do you see that it will make you lose a mark? Because the third solution would just vanish. So we don't like dividing 0 by anything because 0 just remains a 0 no matter what you divide it by. Okay. There is no brain breaks, Pamanda. It's 10-2. Let's have one more and then you guys can take a break. Okay. I promise you guys on Thursday I'll have a brain break for you. It's been a while. It's been a while. Okay, let's do one more. A rectangle has an area of 8 meters. Its breadth is 2 meters less than its length. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. This is my rectangle. They were very nice to draw it for you. Okay. They were very nice of them to draw it for us. But if they didn't draw it, then it will be up to you to make a drawing. Okay. Don't be shy to make a drawing in an exam, please. It is very useful. Okay, let's get going. So how do we work out the area of a rectangle? Thank you, Sayani. So area is length times breadth. Now, what do we do with this equation here? Okay, Andile, I'll help you at the end of the lesson. Okay, let's just finish this up. We substitute, beautiful Alice. What do I substitute where it says A, area? What do I substitute where it says A? 8, because it told us that a rectangle has an area of 8 meters. There we go. 8 equals, what is my length? You must be vigilant, guys. So it's x times, what is my breadth? X minus 2, but you have to put it in brackets. Otherwise, what happens if you don't put it in brackets? You forget to distribute. Do you see that? If you don't put it in brackets, you're going to end up with x times x minus 2. Then you're going to say x squared minus 2, which is wrong. You need to distribute. Okay. Now let's see. Okay. What happens with this x and x minus 2? What do we do when we have brackets? We distribute. So 8 is equal to x squared minus 2x. What is happening here? Is that x squared vanishing? No. So what do we have to do? It ends up being a trinomial, right? So I'm going to take 8 and bring it over. So I have 0 is equal to x squared minus 2x, and my 8 is positive or negative? Negative 8. Great. Now let's make my 2 brackets. 0 equals. Andile, this is our time to shine. Remember you said you wanted help? Let's do it together. Okay. Now, let's factorize first. Factors of x squared. X and x. Beautiful. What is my first symbol according to this one? It is a minus. And does that minus say I'm going to keep or change the next one? Every time we see trinomials, it's equal to, you have to make it equal to 0, Spamand, otherwise you can't solve it. Okay. So is it a keep or change? It's a change. Thank you, Alice. So then what is my symbol for the next bracket? It is a positive. So what are my factors of 8? 1 times 8, 2 times 4. That's it. Which ones are we going to use here? 1 times 8 is definitely not going to give me 2. Negative 2, right? So we're using 2 and 4. But I want a negative 2. So who's positive and who is negative? Nice. Alice says it's positive 2 and negative 4. because this will give us -2, which is exactly what we're looking for. So -4, +2. Wonderful. Now let's get solving. What happens when we get here? Magic word that starts with S. What happens when we get here? We have 2 brackets equals 0. We split. Thank you, Spamandla. So then x minus 4 is equal to 0, or x plus 2 is equal to 0. What is my solution for the first one? X is equal to 4, or x is equal to -2. Are we done answering this question? There is a trick here. Why are we not done, Alice? Let's talk about perspective. What are we finding here? What are we finding? What was my question? Before we substitute, what were we finding? Find the dimensions of the rectangle. Can dimensions be negative? Have you ever heard of someone being -5 meters tall? Ha! So do we have 2 solutions here? Nope. You are supposed to say, but dimensions cannot be negative. So what is the actual solution here? Therefore, x is 4. Then you substitute. So then my length will be 4 meters because my area was in meters. And my breadth is 4 minus 2, which is 2 meters. You're welcome.